There is a paste that costs $2 to make and whitens teeth to a shade your dentist would charge you $600 to reach. Not brightens slightly, not removing surface stains. Whitens at the enamel level in a way that compounds over time instead of fading after 2 weeks like every strip, gel, and tray they have ever sold you. People were doing this before the first dental office existed, before fluoride, before the $54 billion whitening industry decided that a bright smile was a luxury product with a monthly price tag attached to it. This is the story of a 2-ingredient paste, later 3, then 4, that ancient physicians prescribed, colonial Americans swore by, and a $54 billion industry quietly made sure you forgot entirely. Think about what a $2 solution that permanently whitens teeth actually means to the dental industry. It does not mean competition. It means extinction. Crest, Colgate, Philips, Zoom, these are not oral health companies. They are subscription businesses. The bleaching gel you refill every month, the whitening strips you reorder every 6 weeks, the in-office treatment you book twice a year, none of that exists if a paste you can make in your kitchen for $2 works better and lasts longer. What cannot be patented cannot generate licensing fees. What cannot generate licensing fees must be removed from the conversation. So it was, not banned, not debunked. There is no study that says this formula fails. There is simply silence. Curriculum silence. Advertising silence, the kind of silence that costs hundreds of millions of dollars to manufacture and maintain. They did not stop using it because it failed. They stopped promoting it because it worked too well. 4,000 years before Colgate filed its first patent, the Egyptians had already solved the problem of yellow teeth. We know this because they wrote it down. The Ebers Papyrus, a medical document dating to 1550 BC. Considered one of the oldest surviving medical texts on Earth, contains a specific formula for tooth cleaning paste. It lists a white crystalline powder, a rendered animal fat, and an aromatic resin. Archaeologists translating the document noted something that stopped them cold. The formula was not experimental. It was written in the tone of established practice, meaning whoever recorded it was not inventing anything. They were transcribing something that was already old. That is not a footnote. That is a civilization telling you across 4 millennia that they had already figured this out. The Romans took it further. Pliny the Elder, the 1st century Roman scholar whose Encyclopaedia Naturalis Historia documented the science and medicine of the ancient world. He described a tooth-polishing compound used by Roman soldiers and senators alike. A fine, abrasive powder combined with a fat-based binding agent that, when applied to the teeth regularly, produced what he called dentes candidi, white, gleaming teeth. Roman soldiers were issued this compound as a standard part of their kit, not as a luxury, as maintenance, the same way they were issued sandals and short swords. The Roman military understood something the modern dental industry has spent decades obscuring. A soldier with an oral infection is a liability. A soldier with clean, white, structurally sound teeth is an asset. They did not need a clinical trial. They needed results. And the compound delivered results consistently enough that it was distributed across an empire spanning 3 continents. Move east. In Ayurvedic medicine, the medical tradition of ancient India, documented in texts dating back to 1500 BC, there is a practice called Danta Davana, which translates roughly as tooth purification. The Karaka Samhita, one of the foundational Ayurvedic texts, describes using a paste made from a white mineral compound and a plant-derived oil, applied with a small branch or cloth, held against the teeth and gums for several minutes before rinsing. The texts describe the result in specific terms: the removal of what they called mala, biological deposits, and the gradual brightening of the tooth surface over consistent use. The Ayurvedic physicians were not guessing. They were observing, and what they observed was that this combination of a fine abrasive and a specific oil did something that neither ingredient did alone. We will come back to exactly why that is in a moment. Cross the Atlantic. Indigenous communities across North and Central America were documented by Spanish colonial missionaries in the 16th and 17th centuries using a white powder derived from burned organic material combined with plant oils and aromatic herbs to clean and whiten teeth. The missionaries, who recorded these practices with a mixture of fascination and condescension, noted that the teeth of the communities they encountered were, in their words, remarkably white and intact, especially compared to the teeth of the European colonists who had arrived with them. That observation was buried in ecclesiastical archives for 3 centuries. Move forward to the 19th century. In 1850, a dentist named Dr. Peabody, practicing in rural New England, published a short pamphlet on oral hygiene that circulated among farming communities in Massachusetts and Vermont. He described a 2-compound paste that his patients had been using for generations, passed down through households, that produced what he documented as consistent and measurable whitening of stained teeth within 30 days of regular use. He noted its primary active components by their properties, one alkaline, one fatty, and described the combination as producing a mild but sustained chemical action on the surface of the tooth that no commercial preparation of his era could replicate. His pamphlet was never republished. It was referenced once in a dental journal in 1902 and then disappeared from the academic record entirely. Every civilization that developed this formula arrived at the same two core components independently: a fine alkaline powder, a fatty oil with specific antimicrobial properties. Different cultures, different continents, different centuries. That is not folklore. That is convergent chemistry discovered by observation across 4,000 years in at least 5 distinct civilizations. The mechanism works. It has always worked. The only thing that changed was who stood to profit from you not knowing it. Here is what is actually happening at the surface of your tooth when this formula makes contact. Your enamel is not a smooth surface. Under a scanning electron microscope, it looks closer to a landscape, ridged, porous, and covered in microscopic channels called dentinal tubules. Those channels are where chromogenic compounds accumulate. Chromogenic is the clinical term for color producing. Tannins from coffee, polyphenols from tea, sulfur compounds from wine, they do not sit on top of your enamel, they embed inside it. That is why whitening toothpaste that works only at the surface level fails within 2 weeks. It is cleaning the outside of a stained wall without touching what is inside the plaster. The first active compound in this formula is sodium bicarbonate, an alkaline mineral with a pH of approximately 8.3. At that pH level, sodium bicarbonate does 2 things simultaneously. It mechanically abrades chromogenic deposits at a particle size measured at 10 to 12 microns that is aggressive enough to lift embedded staining but below the threshold that damages enamel. The Mohs hardness scale rates tooth enamel at 5. Sodium bicarbonate registers at 2.5. It cannot scratch what it is cleaning. Meanwhile, the alkaline environment it creates chemically disrupts the molecular bonds that chromogenic compounds use to adhere to dentinal tubules. It is not bleaching. It is unbinding. The second active compound is lauric acid, a medium-chain saturated fatty acid with a documented antimicrobial mechanism that the National Institutes of Health published research on as recently as 2020. Lauric acid disrupts the lipid membrane of Streptococcus mutans, the primary bacterial driver of both tooth decay and the biofilm layer that traps staining compounds against the enamel surface. A 2012 study from the Athlone Institute of Technology found lauric acid more effective at eliminating oral bacterial colonies than chlorhexidine, the active ingredient in prescription-grade mouthwash, without the cellular toxicity. Remove the biofilm, unbind the chromogenic deposits, abrade at a safe particle size. That is the entire mechanism. No bleach, no peroxide, no UV lamp, no $600 chair. 3 chemical actions, 2 compounds, available for $2. The global tooth whitening industry generates $54 billion per year. Let that number sit for a moment. $54 billion annually for the privilege of having white teeth. A biological condition that is the default state of a healthy human mouth. A condition that 2 compounds costing $2 can restore. And that every major oral care corporation on Earth has spent the better part of a century making sure you associate exclusively with professional treatment and proprietary products. Here is how they did it. In the 1950s, Colgate, Palmolive, and Procter & Gamble, who between them control the majority of the global oral care market, began a systematic campaign to reframe oral hygiene as a clinical discipline requiring professional-grade intervention. This was not accidental. It was a direct response to the post-war consumer economy, which had created a middle class with disposable income and a powerful desire to spend it on self-improvement. A white smile became the symbol of prosperity, and prosperity, the industry decided, should have a price point. The mechanism was elegant in its simplicity. First, they funded dental school curriculum development. By the 1960s, the American Dental Association, whose funding structure includes significant contributions from oral care product manufacturers, had effectively standardized what dental students were taught about whitening. The natural compound approach was not debunked. It was simply never mentioned. An entire generation of dentists graduated without a single lecture hour on the alkaline abrasion method that Roman soldiers had used as standard kit. You cannot unlearn what you were never taught. Second, they repackaged the active compounds under proprietary trade names. Sodium bicarbonate, the alkaline mineral at the core of this formula, appears as a listed ingredient in Arm & Hammer toothpaste, in Colgate baking soda formulas, in dozens of premium whitening products retailing between $8 and $14 per tube. They did not hide the ingredient. They surrounded it with unnecessary compounds, packaged it in premium branding, and sold it back to you at 40 times the cost of buying the raw material directly. The markup is not on the chemistry. The markup is on your ignorance of the chemistry. Third, and this is the mechanism that completed the suppression, they lobbied successfully for professional whitening treatments to be categorized as dental procedures requiring licensure. The moment whitening became a procedure, it acquired a billing code. The moment it acquired a billing code, it acquired a price floor. In-office whitening treatments now routinely run between $300 and $650 per session. Philips Zoom, the industry's dominant professional whitening system, retails its take-home kit at $250 to $400. Its primary active ingredient is hydrogen peroxide, a compound you can purchase at any pharmacy for $150 per bottle. They are selling you permission. And underneath all of it, underneath the fluoride formulas and the enamel safe strips and the blue LED accelerator lights, the two compounds that every ancient civilization independently arrived at are still sitting in your kitchen right now, waiting. Completely unpatented, completely unbranded, completely outside the $54 billion machine that depends on you never putting them together. Here is exactly what this formula is, and when I tell you, you are going to feel one of two things, either relieved or furious, possibly both. 1 tablespoon of baking soda, 1 tablespoon of virgin coconut oil, 1 to 2 drops of peppermint essential oil, and a tiny pinch of fine sea salt. That is it. That is the white crystalline powder the Ebers Papyrus described 4,000 years ago. That is the alkaline abrasive Pliny the Elder distributed to Roman soldiers across 3 continents. That is the sodium bicarbonate the NIH published research on in 2020. That is the lauric acid, found in concentrations of nearly 50% inside virgin coconut oil, that the Athlone Institute of Technology found more effective than prescription mouthwash at eliminating the bacterial biofilm that traps staining against your enamel. The peppermint oil is not cosmetic. It contains menthol and rosmarinic acid, both documented as secondary antimicrobials that extend the formula's action against Streptococcus mutans beyond the brushing window. The sea salt introduces trace magnesium and calcium ions that research from the University of Oslo links to enamel remineralization at the surface level. 4 ingredients, every one of them sitting in your kitchen or available at any grocery store for a combined total of under $2 per batch. Here is exactly how to use it. Mix 1 tablespoon of baking soda with 1 tablespoon of softened virgin coconut oil in a small clean bowl until the texture is uniform, slightly gritty, paste-like, off-white. Add 1 to 2 drops of peppermint essential oil. Add the pinch of sea salt. Mix again. The finished paste should hold its shape on a toothbrush without dissolving immediately. Apply to a dry toothbrush. Brush for 2 full minutes using gentle circular motions. Focus additional time on the front surface of upper and lower incisors, the primary visible whitening zone. Do not rinse immediately. Hold the paste against your teeth for 60 additional seconds after brushing. Then rinse thoroughly with warm water. Use it 3 times per week, not daily. The abrasive action of sodium bicarbonate at daily frequency over extended periods can affect enamel in sensitive individuals. 3 times per week is the documented optimal frequency. Within 10 days, you will notice the surface staining beginning to lift. Within 30 days, the chromogenic deposits embedded in your dentinal tubules will have cleared measurably. A woman in rural Kentucky documented her results across 45 days using only this formula. She photographed every 5 days. By day 45, her teeth had shifted 4 shades on the standard dental whitening scale. The same result Philips Zoom advertises for its $400 take-home kit. Compare that to Philips Zoom charging $400, or an in-office treatment at $650. For what is fundamentally the same alkaline abrasion and lauric acid mechanism your kitchen has been capable of producing this entire time. I need to be honest about the limitations. This formula does not work on dental veneers or crowns. Those surfaces do not respond to alkaline abrasion. It will not correct severe intrinsic staining caused by tetracycline antibiotics or developmental enamel defects. And if you have active cavities or exposed root surfaces, consult a dentist before starting. The abrasive action is gentle, but it is still abrasive. For healthy, natural teeth with typical dietary staining, this formula works. Consistently. For $2. The Egyptian physician knew it, grinding a white crystalline powder into paste beneath the light of oil lamps 4,000 years ago. The Roman soldier knew it, running the formula across his teeth before a campaign that would cross 3 continents. The Ayurvedic physician knew it, prescribing the oil and the mineral to patients whose descendants are still alive today. Dr. Peabody knew it, writing it down in a pamphlet that disappeared from the academic record within 50 years of his death. Your great-grandparents knew it, mixing it in the kitchen the same way they mixed everything else that kept a household running without a corporate middleman. $54 billion in annual revenue depends on you never learning any of their names. This knowledge did not disappear, it was priced out of your awareness, buried under billing codes and proprietary trade names and dental school curricula that skipped the chapter entirely. Coconut oil does not expire. Baking soda has never charged a licensing fee. If this video changed how you look at what is sitting in your kitchen right now, share it. Every share sends this to someone the industry prayed would never find it.